So now let's start. So there are 3 passages in your IELTS reading. The section 1, and it has its own questions. Then you have the section 2, and it also have its own questions. And lastly, you have the section 3 with its own question. Okay, so you're meant to answer this question, total of 40 questions, and you're meant to answer these 40 questions in 60 minutes. Now, ordinarily, that's not an issue because you can actually answer 40 questions in 60 minutes. But the issue is that, is it something you just answer? No, it needs a lot of brainstorming, it needs a lot of concentration, it needs a lot of understanding, it needs a lot of skills.
Hello?
So there are
Hello, Sammy. Hello?
Sammy, who is that? Sorry, I just have to mute. Oh, thank God. I'm glad you are here now. You can hear me. Okay, so welcome. Sorry for the whole issue. I should have put you through before now. Sorry about that. You're welcome, okay? So I've muted everyone so that we don't disturb the class. Maybe the background will be noisy, and when you're saying something, it's distracting every other person. So I muted everybody. By the time I'm done, or by the time I need you to contribute, I'll definitely ask you to unmute. And by then I will give you permission to unmute. Okay, before that, if you need anything or you want to say anything, know that there is a button where you can actually signify. Okay, if you look at your screen, you see an icon for chat. You can actually drop a message there. You also see an icon for reactions, so you can actually raise your hand there, drop an emoji just to tell me or notice me that you need my attention. Okay, so for now, let's please pay attention to what we are starting. So today, this is our first day in this reading, and I really wanted everyone to be part of it. Letting information out, and we don't want you to miss it. So please, your maximum concentration is very important. Try to concentrate, okay? We don't take so much time, so you still have time to do some of your chores that you want to do. Just give this time, okay? So like I said, the IELTS reading is the second in your writing, because IELTS is broadly into the speaking, that the oral aspect and the written aspect. Then as of course is your speaking. Then the ones you have to write is your listening. Of course, as you're listening, you'll be writing something. The reading, of course, you also write something. The writing, of course, you write something. So that's broadly 2 aspects. So this is the second module. So you will take your listening, then you take your reading before your writing. And from the statistics so far, reading is one thing that has helped people. Reading is one thing that people complain a lot about. Okay, and why it's like that is that the time seem not to be enough. So for you to get a good grade in your IELTS reading, you really need to understand how to manage time. Okay, so like I said, it's a total of 40 questions, and you're meant to answer these questions in 60 minutes. Now, ideally, if you are to answer these questions, okay, if you're just to answer the questions in 60 minutes, it's very easy, it's very simple. If you're to read, because there are passages, each section is 3 sections, each section have its own passage. Like this is now section 3, it has its own passage. So if you're meant to read these passages, the 3 passages in 60 minutes, that's in 1 hour, it is also impossible. But now why it seems to be hard is because you're meant to read the passage and then answer questions from the passage. And not just that, the questions are tricky. IELTS is very tricky. It is not hard, but it is tricky. There is a difference between saying something is hard and something is tricky. If it's tricky, by the time you understand the tricks, you will be able to know what you expected to do. You see that thing that seems hard, you see that it's actually just a few thing, just one or two tips that actually make it hard. So if you don't understand the tip, that's why I said if you're not dealing with a particular module, please do not go there because you end up confusing yourself. And one thing about IELTS, once you're scared of IELTS, you see yourself, you'll be losing confidence to practice, you'll be losing confidence to try because you feel, if I try, I'm going to fail. Please, no. IELTS is just about trick. The time you know what your employer needs from you. Please, who is doing that on my screen? Who is drawing? Who is that? Okay, let me just. So by the time you understand what your employer wants, what your examiner wants from you, then it's going to be really easy for you. Okay, so now we are going to take our time to teach this reading, and we need your maximum concentration. Now, first of all, we are going to learn how to answer different types of questions. By the time you understand how to answer, don't bother about time for now, please, except you have exam within this month. But if you don't have exam this month, don't worry about time. Maybe if you have exam this month or the beginning of next month, you can now come to me privately. You'll see my exam. If your exam is fast approaching, please come to me so that I can hold a private section, one-on-one section with you, and then we can all help you put everything together. So please, for now, we are not going to bother about time management. We already have trick. The only thing I need from you is for you to understand how to answer these questions. If you understand how to answer these questions, then the trick I will tell you to help you manage time is not a problem. You definitely finish when you apply that trick. You definitely finish before your time is up. So now, first mistake that people make is reading this whole passage. Okay, so this passage you're seeing here, if you read everything before answering the question, you see, as you finish reading, what's the last word here? As you finish saying, if you paid PayPal, you blah 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 180 days of paying, then you see everything you've read will be out because you're in exam mode. So reading this thing in the first place is a way you're wasting your time. Okay, it's not advisable. So by the time you get your questions, all you need to do is to study, look at the kind of questions that you were asked. So there are different types of questions in IELTS reading. We have the true, false, not given questions. We have the yes, no, not given questions. We have the there's a match information. So where you're expected to match different information with this, and don't worry, we are going to all break it down. You understand how to answer every type of this question. We have the sentence completion. We have the sentence completion. We have the multiple choice questions. Okay, we have the summary completion. So, and others. MCVQ headings. Yes, have the MCQ. You have match headings. Okay, so now, if I'm to divide these types of questions, I'm going to also divide them into two. Please, if possible, get your pen and your paper and jot. When we are teaching, please try to jot some information. It will really help you when you start practicing. So if I'm to divide this question, these types of question, I'm going to divide them into two: the simple questions and the tough questions. And why, when I say tough question, don't see it like but why I call it, because actually sometimes there are some simple questions that people call tough. But why I'm dividing it like this is because there are some questions that you will find the answers, you know where to find the answers. So there is a difference between you know where to find this answer and you don't know where to find this answer. So the ones you know where to find it, I call them simple questions, because you know where you go and look for it and get it. Then the ones I call tough questions, there are those ones you don't know where the answer is. So it's scattered, the answers are scattered. So those ones I call them tough questions. Now, remember what I said earlier, IELTS is just tricky, it is not hard. So by the time you understand the tricks that you need to use, you see that IELTS actually is not hard. You see that is a little different between somebody that is getting 6.5 and someone that gets 8, 9. So it's just a little trick that demarcates that. So now the first question we are going to deal with is the true false not given. I think this question is falls among the simple questions because you will know where to get the question, the answers. But the thing is, it is very tricky. It is very, very tricky. So that is why a lot of people see it as it's hard, but actually it's not. It is just tricky. So this type of question, they will bring information from the passage. So each and every question here, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are all from the passage in section 1. All these, they are all statements, sentences from section 1. But the only thing is that these sentences, they've changed it. For example, if they said John gave Adam money, maybe that's how they said it in this sentence, they will now twist it and say the money with Adam was given to her by John. That is just the only thing. They will change it, they will rephrase it. So you really need to read. When you're reading the sentence, think about the meaning, not about the word. Don't be hoping to see number 1 question like it is written here, you will receive a card telling you. No, do not expect to see the sentence like that. Have it already in your mind that whatever is here, yes, it's the same sentence in this section, in the question, but they have changed it. So what you are now going to know is the first thing is, when do I think, when do I accept that this statements here now, they're asking you each and every from number 1 to 6, they're asking you if these statements, are they the same thing, and is it true from what is written in the passage? Is it true? If it's true, that means that it is the same thing that was written here that is also in the passage. That means if, just like this question says, you will receive a card telling you if an item has been left with a neighbor. So if actually the passage says that you will receive a card telling you if an item has been left with a different way, but if it means the same thing, it means that this is true. Now, if it means the opposite, maybe now this statement says you will receive a card telling you if an item has been left with a neighbor, and the inside the passage is telling us that you will not receive a card telling you if an item has been left with a neighbor. It is opposite. So it is opposite means it is false. It's not the same thing. Then not giving on its own means that they did not tell us if you will receive a card telling you this. They don't tell anything about receiving a card. That means it is not given. So the first thing you have to notice in every sentence is what is the main thing that this particular sentence is saying. So there are 3 things obtainable from this particular statement. Let's say, for instance, the first one says you left in. So if actually in the passage we see any statement that says that you will receive a card telling you if an item has been left with a neighbor, that means this is true. If we saw a statement saying that you will not receive a card telling you if an item has been left with a neighbor, that means it's false. If in the statement they did not say anything about receiving a card, anything about a card telling you anything, that means it is not given. Please, not given and false are usually what distracts or confuses people in this. True is always very clear, but not given and false, try to understand it. Try to know when they are saying opposite of what is here and when they did not say anything about this. If what they said in the passage is opposite of the statement here, that means it is false. If they did not say anything about this particular information, that means it is not given. Then another thing you would do is to check, okay, what is it that, what are the keywords? Keywords, when you are looking with, you know that we are also battling with time. In as sponge as I say, you should not worry about time, but I'm not going to teach you in a way that you will be too relaxed with time. Okay, I'm still going to be putting that in you small. It's grade by grade. When you understand this, learning IELTS is just like a ladder. When you take this step, you'll be able to take the other step. So we can't do a jump. If we do a jump, by the time you now reach and there is no way you cannot take that step. You see yourself lost. So it's a step by step. And today is the first day. So follow the pace. Don't do and do fast. You understand? Especially if it's your first time having this class. You look for keyword. Keyword are things that cannot easily change in the passage, that you can quickly look for in the passage and then see. It cannot easily change. Better keywords are things like name, or a word that is rare in English language, or a date, or a year. These things are your botanical names. These things rarely change. So in this now, you will receive a card. Is there possible synonyms they could use instead of card? Card is a good one, but still have your mind that you could see things like is there any alternative name for card? I don't know, but just keep your mind open in case if you see something. Then telling you if an item has been left with a neighbor. Now another thing is neighbor. Neighbor, they could say next door or living next door, but it's rare for them to change that word neighbor. So now I've gotten two words that are really rare to have a replacement. So even though I'm keeping my mind open in case if I see a replacement, but I know it is rare for them to say change card or change neighbor. So what I'm now going to do is I will quickly go to someone left. So what I'm going to do is I will quickly go to So I'll quickly go to the passage, and then because I said this is a simple question, it means that I'll start from here to look for my answer. I'm going to start from first sentence to look for my answer, and I'm looking for my answer like this: down, down. I'm looking from first sentence down. Okay, so I'm likely to see question. I'm very much likely to find my answers there. So because this is really where I'm supposed to get the number one question, then I'm going to look, because if a simple question follows a passage, you are definitely going to see your answers from the first paragraph downwards. It's usually okay. So IELTS can change anytime. I don't set IELTS, but so far that is just it. Okay, so just still keep your mind open in case if you check the first paragraph you didn't see, then you can check the next. So now let's look. It says we are going to just quick rundown. And please, if you are doing your scanning is simply looking for a keyword. If you're scanning, please use your pen. It's actually you're going to be faster if you use your pen to go through each line than when you just use your bare eye. So use your pen as your pointer and then you quickly go through. So I've already seen something like label. I've already seen neighbor. And where did I see neighbor? Let me highlight. I saw neighbor here. Neighbor. I'm going to see, okay, where did the statement start? Where did the sentence start? And I can see it started from if your item. Okay, so I'm now going to read. It says, if your item wasn't delivered to the location you agreed. Example, if it was left with your neighbor without your consent, it's the seller's legal responsibility to sort out the issue. Okay, so did he tell us about sorry, let me clean this. Did he tell us about leaving a card with your neighbor? Did he say that? He did not say anything about leaving a card with a neighbor. Okay, what simply says that it's a giving example that if for example, if it's maybe your item was left with your neighbor without your consent, but it did not give us information about leaving a card. You receiving a card telling you that they left something with the about. So that simply means it is not given. It didn't say anything about you receiving a card. They simply said that if your item wasn't delivered, you agreed. For example, it was left with your neighbor, okay, without your consent. So they didn't tell if they're going to a I don't know. So it is not. I don't know if you understand. It is not given. Okay. So let's go to the next question. The next question is: it be quick to get a refund for non-delivered item. It may be quick. So another thing you need to understand is all these keywords, all these cohesive devices. I think that's what makes IELTS unique. May, who, when, should. They are things that make IELTS unique. You really need to understand every part of it. If you see me, you need to understand what may means. Okay, so it's what makes IELTS unique. By the time if you understand the use of all these things, I'm telling you that IELTS will be quite simple for you to understand. It's going to be quite simple, not just the reading aspect, but even the writing aspect, the listening aspect, every aspect you're doing in IELTS. If you need a good understanding of these cohesive devices, because you will make a good use of it. You will see it in everything. I think that's something unique about IELTS. So whenever you see something like this, take note of it, because they might say it now, you may be quicker, and then in the sentence is saying you must be quicker. Now it's now opposite. May is tentative, may or may not. Must is must. Is not, is sure. You understand? So you need to know these differences. By the time you see may, have it in your mind, because they might change this may to must. And because our brain is programmed in a way that we read past a lot of things, we already make meanings now. It's not just you, it's even me, almost everybody. We make out meaning already without reading things. So you have to really read, especially when you're reading the question, read to understand. And when you locate your answer in the reading, read it very well to understand, extract the meaning. So this question is saying it may be quicker to get a refund than a replacement for a non-delivered item. So if the passage accepts that it may be quicker to get a refund than a replacement for a non-delivered item. So that means an item that they've not delivered, that it may be faster to be for you to get your money back than for them to replace that item. Do you understand? They did not deliver an item for you now. Maybe you ordered a phone and they did not bring it. They now tell you that it will be faster, or it may be not it may be faster if you ask them to give you back your money than for them to replace that thing that they did not. They should give you another thing instead of that thing that they did not deliver. I don't know if you understand it now. So if it's the same thing in the passage, then it's true. If they said it may not be quicker, or they say it must, or they say yeah, it may not be, if they insinuate it, then it is false. If they didn't say anything about if it's how quick or how quick it will be, then it is not given. So let's look through the passage. Now, what are the keywords we can search? We can search for refund, replace, non-delivered item. And when you're searching for this, open your mind that you could see something instead. You can as well think of possible things they could use for refund. Refund, I don't think can easily change refund. Then quicker, of course, they can say some things like faster, easier, on time or something like that. So there are a lot of ways they can use instead of quicker. But refund, replacement, non-delivered item. So let's search this passage and see if you can get all those keywords. So already still in my first paragraph. So in my first paragraph, okay, you're going to start scanning from where you got your answer last. So already the last sentence in the first paragraph is where we got the answers last. So we are just going to check the next paragraph, and already I'm going to read the sentence very well to understand it. The sentence says, if the item doesn't turn up, so it still means they did not deliver it. If it didn't turn up, that means if they did not deliver it, you are legally entitled to a replacement or refund. Okay, yes, they've said you're legally entitled to a replacement or refund. But remember, the question says it may be quicker to get a replacement, a refund instead of a replacement. So we want to know which one will be quicker. So let's continue reading and see, maybe we'll get the information. It says you can ask for your money back if you don't receive the item within 30 days of buying it. If in writing, they did not tell us if it's going to be quicker or not, because there's no word they used here that means quicker. Okay, so that means this particular question, the answer is not given. So this is actually what confuses people. This particular one is not given because they did not tell us if it's which one will be quicker. Is it replacement or refund? They didn't say it. So that means it is not given. But you see that they said everything about replacement, refund, if it didn't turn up. So sometimes this confuses people and they choose true. Please look and understand the opposite of the sentence. Do not search for keywords, search for the meaning. Know what the meaning is. Okay. So number 3 says you're entitled to a refund if the item fails to arrive by a certain time. So I think we've already read this. So I think we've already read this. Let's still read it again. In this, I think, let me see if I can highlight there. Okay. You can ask for your money back if you don't receive the item within 30 days of buying it. So it's true, right? That means you can receive your money back if you do not receive within a specified number of time. Okay, you are entitled to a refund of if the item fails to arrive by a certain time. The certain time is 30 days. So let's see number 4. So number 4 says there is a time limit when using the chargeback scheme for a debit card payment. There is a limit. We know that we all use our transfer, especially now that there is no cash. We do transfer a lot. You know that you have a limit. So it means where you do something and you will stop, you will no longer be able to do that. So there is a time limit when using a chargeback scheme. So now in IELTS, you're not going to start understanding what chargeback scheme is all about. Just understand the sentence. We don't know what chargeback scheme is. Okay, it's not even the knowledge of this is not even going to understand the sentence, not understanding every keyword. The keywords you are expected to understand is mostly the cohesive devices, and there are things you should ordinarily know. Things like may, might, would. Something. We are going to search in the passage to see if it's true that when you're using this chargeback scheme that you have a time limit for debit card payment. So if it is true, then if this sentence is the same thing in the passage, then it is true. If it is the opposite of what is in the passage, then it is false. Then if it is not given, they didn't tell us if there is a time limit or not, then it is not given. So another thing you have to check is what are the possible keywords I could search for? Because like I told you, reading the whole passage is wasting your time. Because they are not asking you this particular one now is not, there is a place you will need to read all the passage, but this particular one, no, you don't have all that time. So now, what are the keywords you're going to search for? We can search for things like time limit, time bound. These are things they can change this time limit to time bound. So if we decide to go with it, we just have our mind open. Guess if we see anything that insinuate or look like time limit. But I think things that cannot change is something like chargeback scheme. Chargeback already, because it's a strange, it's a strange word. It's even made special. So another thing is debit card payment. Debit card is rare for it to be changed. So let's see where they talked something about payment or whatever. So we are going to start searching from the last place we saw answer. We don't need to look for any from this place. This is the last place we read, buying it. So from there, we are going to still look down to see if we are going to see anything like chargeback scheme or anything about debit card payments. Okay. So here I'm already seeing bank or payments. So I'm going to read to see if that is where the information I'm looking for is. So it says you might also be able to get your money back through your bank or payment provider. This depends on how you paid. If you paid with a debit card, see, I've seen debit card. If you paid with a debit card, contact your bank and say you want to use the chargeback scheme. If the bank agrees, they can ask the seller's bank to refund money to your account. Many staff now, many staff don't know about the scheme, so you might need to speak to a supervisor or manager. You should do this within, look at that, within simply means there is a time limit, within 120 days of when you paid. Okay, so now if you're using the chargeback scheme, that you should do it within 120 days. That means there is a time limit when you paid. So is it the same thing with what we have on the question? Is it the same thing that there is a time limit when you're using the chargeback scheme for debit card payment? That is true. It's the same thing. Then the next one, number 5, says you can use the chargeback scheme for a credit card payment of more than £100. So can we are going to check if it's true that you can use the chargeback scheme for a credit card. Now, credit card, not debit card. Note the difference. So we are going to check if it's true that you can use the chargeback scheme for a credit card payment of more than £100. Let's check things you can actually, keywords you can check for is credit card payment, £100. So let's check. So we are still going to check from under where we, excuse me, let me take some water. So from under where we got our last answer. So already in the second bullet point, I'm already seeing £100. So I'll now have to read the sentence to be sure my answer is there. So you say if you paid by credit card and the item costs less than £100, you should contact your credit card company and say you want to use the chargeback scheme. Is it the same thing? You can use the chargeback scheme for a credit card of more than £100. This number 5 says more than. I've told you this, all this small this thing, this or cohesive devices, they change a lot of things. They are the main thing you should know in IELTS. They are not, IELTS is not checking for big words, whether you know. Even this chargeback scheme, they will not ask you whether you know it or not. What they are interested in is all these small words: more than, may, can, would, where. If you overlook it, that means you'll be making a lot of mistakes. So now they say more than £100. Every other sentence here is the same thing with that in the passage. But now I think where there is a little difference is where they say more than. And the question, the statement here says if you paid by credit card and the item costs less than. So you see less than in the passage, more than in the question. So that is absolutely opposite. Less than is the opposite of more than. So that makes it false. So for you to choose false as your answer, there should be a direct opposite. Direct opposite. More than is opposite of less than. So that is opposite. They are contradicting. This is saying yes and this is saying no. So you should always find, now for you to, if they ask you now, what is your proof? Why did you choose this answer? You can't simply say this one is saying less than, or this one is saying more than. So it's opposite. So your answer is valid. So if they said more than and they came here and say more than, that is true because they're saying the same thing. But they said more than here and here they're saying less than. That means it's opposite. They are saying opposite, which is false. Then if they didn't tell us about whether it's more than or less than, they did not give that information. It is not given. Okay. So let's see. Number 6 says Papers Online Resolution Center has a good reputation for efficiency. So now Papers Online Resolution may be where they solve problem. Where this Paper Online Resolution Center has a good reputation for efficiency. Good reputation. Let's see. I think the major keywords we can pick here is PayPal, because it's rare for them to check PayPal. So let's check if it's true that Papers Online Resolution Center has a good reputation for efficiency. So already in the last bullet point, I'm seeing PayPal. So I'm going to now read to be sure that of what they said. So it says if you paid using PayPal on Online Resolution Center to report your dispute, you must do this within 180 days of paying. So yes, they mentioned PayPal, but they did not tell us if they mentioned PayPal Online Resolution Center, but they didn't tell us if it is good for it, if it has a good reputation for efficiency. They did not tell us. You understand? So they didn't tell us if it has a good reputation for efficiency. That means it is not given. Even though they mentioned Papers Online Resolution Center, what the question is claiming, they didn't tell us about that part, whether it has a good reputation or not. They did not tell us. So when that information is not there, then it is not given. Even if half is there, the full information is not there, it is not given. I don't know if you understand this sentence, this section now that we just did, this type of question. Is there anybody that do not understand this, what we just did now? I've given permission for you to unmute yourself. You can click on your mic and unmute yourself. You can say something. Did you follow what we did? It is very clear and well. Okay, it's very clear, B, and well understood. Was giving you a high BP, whatever you were scared. I hope this one now you're cleared. You can do the assignment. Yes. Okay. 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 So, we are still going to do another one. Just want to. Mrs. I don't know. Mrs. Munirat. I'm sorry if I did not get your name well.
Yeah, that is Munirat, yes.
Okay, so you didn't start with us when we started. Yes, so don't worry, we are going to recording it. It's on record, so we'll drop the record and you can go back to it later. Okay. So by the time you go back to it, I'm very sure you understand it better. So, but still stick with us, and all right. So, all right. That is that for this type of question now. So remember, is in the question is the same thing, the same meaning. Don't look at the words, because the words are going to change. If it's the same meaning, by the time you read it, is the same meaning with what they said on the passage, then it is true. If it is direct opposite, there is a contradiction. There is an opposite there. This one is saying yes, and this one is saying no. There is something you can pick. This word and this word are opposite. This one is saying it gives, and this one is saying it does not give. Then it is false. Then if that information is not given, then their information about that, maybe they are talking about, just like the one we checked about papers online resolution. Yes, they mentioned paper online resolution, but they did not tell us whether about reputation. So they didn't tell us that information. That means it is not given. So if they did not give you any particular information, every keyword has information. Everything now for this particular, every information here should be the same information, complete on the passage. For it to be false, there should be a contradiction, something opposite. For it to be not given, that means the particular information here wasn't given. So then we are going to still confirm this true and false when we give assignment. We are still going to confirm if you actually understood it or not. So we are going to the next type of question. For now, these ones are kind of tough. So we are going to leave it for now. Let's start from the basics. So this is another type of question we are going to do. So this one now is called sentence completion. So you're just meant to get word from the passage and fill all the sentence. So all the sentence here are all gotten from this passage. So all you need to do is to locate where each of the sentence is, and then you fill out the information there. One of the things that will help you to understand where this sentence is, number one, check, is this particular question now following a passage? Yes, it is following a passage. So that tells you that yes, since it is following a passage directly, then I'm going to get the information from the first paragraph. Most time, you get it from the first passage. Then another thing you check is, what is the subheading? Now we know that this is about safety when walking on a roof, which is the same heading with the passage, safety when walking on the roof. Then what is the subheading? Investigation shows that. So we are going to check, where did they talk about investigation in all these paragraphs? Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and paragraph 4. Where did they talk about investigation? So I think it's likely to be in the first paragraph. Let's read the first sentence in the first paragraph to know. So the first sentence in every paragraph is just like introduction. It's always to give you an idea of what the paragraph is all about. So this particular paragraph now, number one, say a fall from height is the most serious hazard associated with roof work. Okay, and then I'm seeing investigation somewhere in middle. So here, investigation. So this particular first paragraph is likely talking about investigation, investigating probably fall from height. Okay, so we're going to get every information here under this investigation. We're going to get number 15 and number 16 from first paragraph. So we have to try to locate where these sentences are. Where did they get this sentence from? The first sentence says over half of falls are from less than dash. Over half of falls. So let's see where they talked about over half of falls. Okay. So you can simply scan through. So over half of falls, I'm seeing something that also is similar to half, which is 50%. So more than 50% is the same thing as over half. More than 50% that they wrote here is the same thing as over half. That means this is where I'm going to get my answer. Okay. So what I'm now going to do is to check what did the question say. So you see, over half of 4 are from less than dash. Less than what? Another thing you need to do is to read the instruction. I forgot to mention that. Instructions is very important, because now the instruction here is saying no more than 3 words and or a number. So anything you want to write here should not be more than 3 words. Any answer you pick, if it's more than 3 words, please, you have to remove one. And whatever you put in the another rule for this is whatever you put here, when you read it as a sentence, it must make meaning. It must have a good meaning. It must be grammatically correct. So now over half of false are from less than dash. That's they said here over okay, more than 50% of false are from under. Remember, under is still the same thing as less than. So under 3 meters. So 3 meters seems to be the answer. So if you put 3 meters there, it's going to be over half of false are from less than 3 meters. So less than is the same thing as under. Under. So the answer is 3 meters. So by the time you read this as a sentence, it's going to still have the same meaning as on the passage. So it means it says over half of false are from less than 3 meters. Then the next question says the majority of false occurs on dash. Now, the thing you're going to search is majority, still on that same paragraph. You're going to search for majority. And also you can search for any sentence. You can look for this majority where they said, under where they said 24 million. Because 24 million is something that will not change. So it should be more like another thing you can look for to make it easier for you. You know, finding a number in a passage is very easy. So by the time you find $24 million, you know that under it, there will be a sentence talking about majority of false. And you know, you will now look for where it occurs. So let's search. Okay, I'm already seeing 24 million a year. So I'm already seeing that same passage. In that same passage here, I'm seeing 24 million a year. So I'm going to look for majority of false. I'm going to look for it because that should be where my answer is. So look at here, the last sentence say more injuries happen on residential buildings. More injuries is still the same thing as majority of false. It's still the same thing. Occurs on dash, occur is the same thing as happen. So you see, they always change the thing. Your understanding of this, that the fact that yes, the way I saw it is not the way I should see it here. Be open-minded is really going to help you because they're not going to change. The sentences are going to change. But when you're reading it, to be very sure that you are in the right place, make sure that you recognize all those synonyms. So occur on residential building sites. So residential building sites, you've gotten 3 words as answer. You now check the instruction. What does the instruction say? It says no more than 3 words. So if you put 3 words here, it is correct. The majority of false occurs on residential building sites. So that means residential building sites is the answer. Okay, then number 2. Okay, sorry. The next heading is about hazard identification. They didn't say, there's no question there, so we will not bother going there. But at least it tells us that yes, the next paragraph that talks about hazard identification, we don't really need to look into it because there was no question there. So the next one, the third one is control. So we are going to look at where they talked about control. So where they talked about control should be the third paragraph. So this one, there was no question from here. There's no question from here. That is what it simply means. So your knowledge of all these things will help you. This one is passage 1. This one is passage 1. This one is passage 2. This one is 3. This one is 4. So even if you check out all these things, you will still see it. So because there was no question in passage 2, we are going to leave passage 2. We don't need to start looking there and be wasting our time. We'll just go direct to passage 3. And then what is the first sentence there we are going to look for? First sentence there says, dash the hazard at the planning stage before the work begin, if possible. So what is the planning stage before work begin? If possible, not the if possible. So what is the planning stage? We are going to look for where they talked about planning stage before work begin. So let's go and search in the third paragraph where they talked about planning stage. The first thing is to consider, first thing, is it the same thing as planning stage? No. So I'm seeing possibility, if the possibility. So remember there is if possible there. So because I've seen if possibility, it drew my attention because I read and I understand my question. So that's why it's good to read and understand your question. You, that word that you might not even be looking for will draw your attention because you read it. So you say if the possibility of a fall cannot be eliminated, some form of edge protection should be used to prevent workers from falling. If it may be possible to use the existing scaffolding at edge. So I saw scaffolding somewhere. Where did I see scaffolding? So this is where I saw scaffolding. So that means I'm reading past where my answer is, because scaffolding is right under where my answer should be. I don't know if you understand all these things. These things are all yardsticks. So if I'm already reading where they wrote scaffolding, that means I have gone past where I should get this my answer. So I will look up to be look up higher than where there is scaffolding. So let's leave that place. Scaffolding, no, because that is not where, that is under where the sentence I should get my answer is. It can sometimes be done at the design, construction, planning, and tendering stage. So look at this. This can sometimes be done at the design, construction planning, and tendering stage. So remember that the question says planning stage, at the planning stage before work begin. So that's the other one. That's the hazard at the planning stage. So what's the hazard at the planning stage? Eliminate these hazards completely so that workers are not exposed to danger of falling. This can sometimes be done at the design, construction, and planning stage if the possibility of fall cannot be eliminated. Some form of age protection should be used to prevent workers from falling. So what I think is eliminate this hazard. If possible, to eliminate this hazard completely so that workers are not exposed to danger of falling. So I think the answer is eliminate. So let me put eliminate to be sure that it's going to make meaning. So it's going to be eliminate the hazard at the planning stage before work begin if possible. So yes, the sentence, that means the answer to number 17 is eliminate. Then it's going to be where we saw scaffolding. Prevent a fall by using edge protection, example scaffolding, or so what again did they talk aside the scaffolding? We know where we saw the scaffolding, right? Let me highlight that place. So this for the it's a possible. Okay, it may be possible to use the existing scaffolding as edge protection. If this is not practicable, then temporary work platform should be used. So what is a day again? Temporary work platforms. So the examples here is scaffolding or temporary work platforms. So the answer should be temporary work platforms. So it will not be prevent a fall by using edge protection, example, scaffolding or temporary work platforms. Then reduce the likelihood of injury, example by using dash. So look at here, they said, look at here, minimize. You know, they say reduce and I'm seeing minimize here. So say Then steps should be taken to minimize the likelihood of any harm resulting. This means the use of safety net and other similar system to make it less likely that injury will be caused if a fall does occur. So safety net. Reduce the likelihood of injury by using safety nets. So the answer here is safety nets. The next one is about ladders. So definitely this is going to be in the last paragraph. Of course, the fourth word there is ladder. Ladders. So that is where we're going to get the last sentence. The first one says, that's number 20 says, this should only be used for dash when does not take a which does not take a long time. Okay, so number 20, what should only be used for something which does not take a long time. So say ladder should only be employed for short duration. Remember, short duration is the same thing as um not which should not take a long time. So short duration is the same thing as not take a long time. Okay, should only be employed. Ladder should only be employed. This should only be used for dash. Ladder should only be employed for short duration, such as touching up paint. So they said short duration is something as which does not take a long time. So should only be used for touching, that's a touching up paints. So ladders is definitely what they are talking about. Should only be used for touching. Who is talking? Who is talking? Who is talking? Mrs. Munirat, your mic is on and we are hearing you. I think I'll mute everyone. It's okay. So the answer is touching up paints. So let's look at number 21. Say training should be provided in their dash and used regularly. Training should be provided where? Let's read. So I'm seeing training here already. I'm seeing trained. So people should using ladder should be trained and instructed in the selected and safe in the selection and safe use of ladder. Okay. So people using ladders should be trained and instructed in selection and safe use of ladder. Training should be provided in their dash and used regularly of ladder if required. Selection and safe in their dash. Selection and safe. I'm trying to see if the sentence will make sense. Say training should be provided in their selection. Dash of ladder is required. So it doesn't sound correct. That's why I'm a bit confused. Should be trained and instructed in the selection and safe use of ladder. There should be inspection of all ladders. Training should be provided in their dash and use where is used regular. There is regular here. Regular basis. Regular basis. use regular of ladder is required. Okay, so let's take this. Of their ladder, I don't know. Inspection of, is there anybody that found the answer? Training should be provided in their dash and use regular ladders if required. In their selection, does it make sense? Does it in their where they say they will provide training? Okay, let's check what the answer is. So let's check what the answer is for this. Training should be provided in their inspection and use regularly, and use regular safety of ladder is required. So let's see. Let me get the answers to this. So you can keep cracking your brain. Oh. Why I get the answers to all we've done today. Okay, so let me share the answer. So this number 21, selection and inspection. So in selection, we actually got it, but was doing as if the inserted wasn't so correct. At least we got it. Selection, inspection. So 3 meters, residential building site, eliminate temporary work platforms, safety nest, maintenance work, selection, inspection. So we got it all. So is anybody that have question what we've done today? And also for our practice, please, I need you all to practice, okay? I really do need you to practice so that we know where you're having issues. If you don't practice now, you will not practice inside the exam hall. This is all the time you have to practice. Make out time and practice. Practice, you have from now till tomorrow, till next tomorrow to practice, okay? We're going to have a general class on the general group tomorrow. So the assignment now, you're going to do this true false not given question. Please don't bother looking for the answer. Just do it. Please, is this test one? Yes. Test one. So you're going to do number 18. Number 18. don't worry, I'm going to drop the textbook on the group. We're doing number 18. Number 18, no, both the sentence completion, no. From number 1 to 7 to 13. Okay. So from number 1 to number 13, page 18 and page 19. So you're doing from 16, 17, 18, 19. So let me drop it on the group. Sixteen, 17, 18, and 19. Okay. So now I'm ready for your questions. If you have questions concerning what we've done today, now you can ask questions. So no questions. Please attempt your quiz, your assignment, if possible, this night or tomorrow. Try to attempt your quiz, okay, and send down the answers you got. Don't bother about marking yourself for now. When I want you to mark yourself, I will make you to know. So do not bother about marking yourself. Okay. If you have any question, I'm trying to share the document to the WhatsApp group. Favor. Right. So that will be all now. Your assignment and then drop it on the group. All right. Good night, everyone.